All right, so tonight, it's the first of many nights talking about a research process. So, I did the long, very long overview of everything we're going to be doing for the next 2 months or whatever it is. Tonight, we're just focusing on getting started. Specifically, our first step is our proposal. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. Please stop me if you have questions. Okay, as much as no. I'd rather answer your questions than hear my voice. So, all right. I told you I have a big PDF document that includes the entire course, and I will share that with you sometime, but my computer was being dumb. So that didn't happen today. But I was able to create this PowerPoint from it. So that's where this comes from. Okay. All right. Purpose of the paper proposal. Researchers will begin preliminary research of their ideas to see if it's worth researching. Right? You don't just jump in unless you've tested the waters a little bit. Make sense? Right? I'm thinking about chips now. That is your purpose this week. To come up with an idea, I asked you to bring ideas.
Would you like any?
So much. To come with an idea and to see if it's worth researching. Once you've come up with an idea that you think is worthwhile, and we're going to talk about that after my little lesson, it's time to put it together in a proposal. So that's what we're going to do. All right? Now I ask the scary question. Are you ready? It's scary because I'm afraid of the answer. It's scary for me. Who got an idea and brought it today? But you were gone Thursday? You could have told him, right? All right. Thank you, everybody.
Was to come up with an idea.
Better late than never. All right. So, why do we do proposals? We've explained this before. We're trying to make our process throughout this class as authentic as possible. This is a process people actually go through. It's not just something you have to do so I can say, no, I don't think that's a good research. Right? It's a real life process. If someone wants to present at a conference or kind of get the ball rolling on a new idea in research, they're going to write a proposal, right? Or if they've already done the research, they'll send in an abstract. But this could be to be on a panel, on a committee, or to just present your paper on a given topic, right? Because, are you okay? One of the things that's really important in academia is to publish, right? And depending on how far you go and what you're actually studying, that may be important for what you do. To publish, to be part of conferences, present papers, get them published, write books, and share your brilliant ideas with the world, right? We're doing that first step here. So, yes, college professors, professional researchers, that's why they write proposals. To submit to, say, conferences, among other things. Say, hey, I got an idea. This is kind of what I found so far. What do you think? Can I come speak at your thing? And then maybe they say, well, heck yeah, we've got an open spot for you, or you're the best. Why don't you come on down? Or crickets. If the answer is no. Maybe. But not for this class, because everybody's going to get to present their work. Yay!
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So say you wrote your paper and you did all the requirements perfectly, but your paper was just boring. Would you take out points for it not being engaging of a read?
So, if you look at the rubric, interesting is not one of the words on there. Original is, right? The way I've kind of explained it before, the difference between a B and an A. B does all the things. A, you add your originality to it. Now, that doesn't mean you have to make it, have fireworks and blink and I don't know. What it means is it's got to be full of your perspective, your insight, what you're adding to it. Does that make sense? Now, I would anticipate your personality on the page, but I'm not worried about being entertained. But thank you for considering me. And whether it would hurt your grade.
I'm not saying you in particular, but like in general, like if a professor reading like say at ASU, it's like 1,000 kids to a classroom.
I'm going to make a guess. The teacher's not reading those papers. Their TAs are.
Really?
That's kind of how you handle a huge lecture hall kind of class, right? And maybe it's not 1,000, but it might be a few hundred people in a class. And what they do to share the load is there are TAs. They might be upper level students. They might be graduate students that are kind of assistants in the class. They hold study groups and things like that. They're kind of like assistant teachers, and they probably help share in some of the grading. If it's that big of a group, right? Yeah. I'm just guessing. Here, we've got small class, so we don't have to worry about that. All right, can everyone see this okay? I'm going to turn down the lights a bit. Don't go to sleep. All right. I wrote this a while ago, but this is me actually following your instructions. I threw something together. Okay? Now, whatever they call for proposals in the real world they're going to be different word counts, right? They may or may not say, but it could be 150 words, it could be 250. I ask for 250 to kind of, because this is me trying to get you started on the paper that comes later, right? Actual proposal may not ask for that many words. It might be less. It might be more, depending on what they're looking for. So I put something together in 3 paragraphs. First thing I want you to do is make some observations. Without me explaining anything, what do you notice about this?
It's like a preview.
A preview.
Yeah.
It's a trailer.
Yeah, it's like a trailer. That's what I mean.
Nice. Okay. You want to explain that a little bit? How is it previewing?
I would like the middle sentence at the beginning, the middle couple sentences at the middle, and the middle sentence at the end, and I get what you're talking about. I get what I should be looking for. You have research there, so it's like something to get excited about.
Go ahead.
What's with researchers being spelled from the last word?
They're researchers? Do I have a typo?
Well,
this?
Yeah.
I told you I copied and pasted it from a PDF. It had split the lines. There was one over here that I fixed simply, but that's what that is. I didn't catch that when I made the PowerPoint. Good job. Yeah. Okay, did you have an observation?
The back of a book.
The back of a book.
Oh, yeah.
Similar concept, right, to a movie trailer. Okay.
It's like the abstract.
Huh?
Right? It's like the abstract.
Yes. The difference between your proposal and your abstract is abstract, the research has already happened. Proposal is like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. Make sense? In theory. Okay. So let me break it down a little bit. A bit of bold. Let's talk about the first paragraph. All right. One of the things you want to do in the beginning, anytime someone's asking you to write a different kind of document, it's kind of stressful, right? It's what's the form, what's supposed to go where, and it really stresses people out, right? There's not always a correct answer, which is super stressful for the student that wants the correct answer, right?
Yes.
When I've made several videos that kind of explain essays, right? And then I'll have students comment underneath them, and they're like, I just don't know how to do this. What's the format? What's whatever? And the reality is, it's paragraphs, right? There may not be a specific format because there isn't always a correct way to do it. There are the ways that your teacher asks you to do it. And if your teacher is explicit, do that thing, right? If I say do this, do this, do this, you do that. But if it's not, it's kind of realistic, which is super scary for students because we want correct answers, right? This is a guide that I've given you. I've created a sample. There's more than one way to do this. Okay? All right. I just want to be clear from the beginning. Okay. So let's look at the first paragraph. This is where you're trying to introduce your topic. You're setting up what the issue is, right? Because you're going to lead into explaining what the research is, why it needs to be researched, and what you expect to find. Those are the big things that this document is trying to do. So first, you're introducing the topic. Some researchers believe that reading scores for K-12 students could be improved by implementing mobile devices into the classroom. This would be an important finding because students across the country consistently score lower than their peers in other countries. At the high school where I teach, I have observed students scoring years below their grade level. This makes reading common high school texts without teacher help almost impossible. Could technology be used to help students improve their reading scores in preparation for graduation and transitioning to college reading? Okay. If that's an introduction, what do you expect to come next?
Explanation.
Dig deeper, right? What's the topic?
Your last sentence.
So pull out the topic out of that. Last sentence is a good place to put, say, a thesis. This is posing a question, but go ahead.
So your topic is like how technology can affect the students capable of reading throughout their high school year, throughout their school years.
Thank you. Okay, one thing to keep in mind, I pose a question here, right? In original research, that's what guides your investigation, is you're going to come up with research questions, right? Now, we're kind of doing this hybrid paper that I explained last week, but a research question is a good idea if you want to go there, right? So you kind of have an idea. This research wants to answer this question or something similar to it. Make sense? So, is this giving you an idea for your own papers? I kind of summarize an issue, right? You notice how I mentioned myself? When students ask me about I in a research paper, I doesn't belong in a research paper. Because more often than not, we're just not experts in the field, right? We're not relevant in the way that someone else might be. We might want to use an expert's opinion instead, right? But I give a personal example, right? I give an anecdote. That's when it's appropriate to reference yourself. I'm talking about my experience, something I've observed. Now, an anecdote, which is kind of like something you've observed, maybe it's not scientifically measured, but you've made some analysis based on it. That's what we mean by an anecdote, right? This is an idea based on personal experience. So, probably relevant to bring it up. Make sense? All right. Any questions on kind of how to introduce our topics before we move on? We can dig deeper. Did you have something? Okay. All right. We can always get back to this too when we discuss our actual topics. Okay, so let's look at the middle. First paragraph, we're kind of summarizing things. The second paragraph, this is the meat. This is where we're kind of justifying that there's an actual topic to research here, right? Okay. In 2011, Conway and Amberson found that implementing laptops into schools could help students with dyslexia and other reading disorders. Then I cite it. Not all students with low reading scores have reading disorders, but the same practice could be applied. I'm talking, here's a fancy word. Are you ready? Generalizability. Can you take what happens somewhere and apply it somewhere else, right? That's the concept here. This is what this research says. Maybe that could apply somewhere else. Generalizability. Okay. Not all students with low reading scores have reading disorders, but the same practice could be applied. Could be. It doesn't say should. It's qualified, right? It's not over-promising. Could be applied as an accommodation to help them improve their reading inside and outside of the classroom. Later, Clary Kigotho and Barros Torning found many e-learning technologies that teachers could use to improve literacy in their classrooms. They focused on the use of Web 2.0 technologies such as online forums and learning management systems. What's a learning management system?
Like administration?
That might be a function it helps with. You use one.
Canvas.
Canvas is a learning management system. Yep. Okay. Because it can help manage the learning. Aha. Okay. I didn't, this name means what it means. Okay, but they also reported the need to develop new pedagogies, fancy word for teaching strategies, for implementing these tools. These tools could be used to increase student engagement within the classroom and extend it beyond the classroom to create a support system for students after they have left campus. Other researchers have found that e-readers and other mobile devices can be effectively used as a tool to promote reading literacy. Biancarosa and Griffiths. So, 3 sources, right? I summarized them in the context of not just what they said, but in the context of the issue, right? I introduce the topic up here. I continue discussing it here as I summarize it, right? Does it feel like I made a huge transition that's hard to follow? No. I'm just going into detail now, right? Make sense?
So,
Sir.
can you explain some of the research you found in your research proposal?
Yes, because the purpose is...
Hey, we should look at this.
there's something here. Yeah, we should look at this. Does that make sense? You're not proposing something that you haven't actually investigated, but you're not done yet either. 3 sources is not the end. Make sense? But it's enough to show, there's something here, right? Okay. So, summarize preliminary research. You're not done yet. Okay. There's 2 things that the last paragraph is going to do. First, it's going to identify the problem or the area that needs researched. So, we introduced an issue. We showed that there's it posed a question, right? We showed that there's probably something there. Now we're leading into the transition for what comes next. Despite K-12 student scores, some students still graduate and matriculate, that's a fancy word, to the college classroom where they have difficulty transitioning because they simply do not read on a high enough level to understand their textbooks or their instructors. Just because you graduate high school doesn't necessarily mean you're ready for college. You ready for a scary statistic? Average high school student graduates at what grade level? What reading grade level?
7th grade.
6th grade.
7th, 6th, 8th.
I wanted, I feel like it's more like 4, which makes me sad.
It's probably around 6th grade. But it's a little bit, we have to understand what grade levels mean, right? Grade level is not about maturity, right? It's not about the level of the content. Because you can pick up an average Stephen King novel, Michael Crichton, and they're going to be 5th grade reading level. And you're like, what? He's not reading. And they're not writing for 5th graders. The way they measure reading level is 2 parts. One, the average number of syllables per word in a sentence. And 2, how many words on average are in a sentence. That's how they measure text complexity. So, shorter the sentence, simpler the words, lower the reading level. Longer the sentence, more advanced words, higher the reading level. Does that make sense? Any guess what reading level this is?
This? Or the research that it's talking about.
This, what I actually wrote.
4th grade.
I haven't checked it, but I have a guess.
8?
This is probably around 10th grade reading level.
There's one more.
Does this sound complicated?
No.
Well, I guess thanks.
Matriculated.
Matriculated.
Yes.
All right, so we identify a problem, right? Next, we're going to say what we're going to do about it. You ready? Oh boy. This paper will research the validity of the researcher's claims and investigate whether or not additional research, because I didn't take out that, will support the use of e-learning technologies such as e-readers and mobile devices to improve reading literacy in K-12 schools. Does that sound specific? Do you know exactly what the research is? Do you know how I'm going to do it? No. That's one thing it doesn't say. Right? It just gets specific on the topic. Make sense? All right. So, I'm going to put the lights back up. Does it help seeing a sample?
Yes.
Okay. Make it feel a little bit more accessible. All right. So let's look at the form so that we can duplicate something like this for our own proposals. All right. Your assignment is 3 sources, 250 words, and basically do these 4 things, right? You're going to introduce your topic. You're going to summarize some preliminary research. You're going to identify the issue or the area of concern, and then what you kind of expect to find. Does that make sense? In your science classes, you probably use the term hypothesis, right? It's your educated guess, what you think you're going to find. Yeah. So, if we look at this form, first paragraph introduces the issue. Second paragraph, it's the meatiest of it. It synthesizes the research together. This is kind of what your lit review is going to end up looking like, only longer, right? And then at the very end, it says what the issue is and what you're going to do about it. Make sense?
Like the issues of the sources, or like?
I say the issue that you're researching,
Okay.
right? I used the term problem before, and that was confusing because you can research something that you may not use the word problem for. But if you're going to research something, we have to justify why it needs to be researched, right? That's why I'm using the term problem or area of concern, whatever, right? Is this because there's an issue? Yeah. I mean, people could be better at reading, right? So could technology help people read better? Is kind of the big question, right? Yeah. This was also kind of the basis for my dissertation. So, all right. I did post this PowerPoint to Canvas so you can see the whole thing.
Yay, computer.
I did something right, huh? Also, the video that explains how to write this that's also posted among other things. All right. So here again is the assignment. Write a 250-word research paper proposal on the topic of the influence of technology in education. The sample is on topic, so hopefully that's relevant. That meets each of the following requirements. 1, include an introduction to the topic. Showed you how to do that. Summarize at least 3 sources as a basis for the research you're going to conduct. Sir?
How many of them have to be scholarly?
Oh, right. So, are you ready for this? For the proposal, all 3. Let me extend that to the proposal is building up to the research paper, right? How many do you need for the research paper?
15?
10, right?
10. How many of those have to be scholarly? All 10. Now, can you bring in sources that are not scholarly? Yes, but they don't replace any of these. Right? So you can add more to it. You can bring in a relevant news article or something, but don't count that as one of your 10 or one of your 3. Because there's that different process that we've talked about that they go through for peer review that helps establish the validity of the work. This is valid, this is reliable research. We can use this without very many concerns, right? Joe Schmo, who made a blog post about what they think about education, may be dead on, but they haven't been verified. Does that make sense? It doesn't meet the rigor of academic research. That's the difference. Okay. Identify the problem that your research is going to investigate. Include a hypothesis, kind of what you think you're going to find, right? And follow MLA, turn it in. So, we feel like we know what we're going to do. All right. Now, we're going to start helping each other out. Sound good? This is why I asked you earlier, did you bring your idea? Okay. So we're going to workshop. Work with your classmates to workshop your proposal on the influence of technology in education. So we're going to pick a partner, do-si-do, or 3. And we're going to share our ideas with each other. And we're going to help each other kind of figure out, is this worth investigating? Now, obviously, we don't have the computers in front of us. We're not in the library. We're just working on ideas right now, right? Is there something to this idea? How can I narrow it down? How can I make it niched? I keep using this term, 3 levels of specificity, right? I'm going to back up. Are there 3 levels of specificity in this? I haven't double checked, so I don't.
Guess why not?
Okay. It's going to research the validity of the researcher's claims about the use of e-learning technologies to support reading literacy K-12 students. You see the 3 different areas, right? E-learning technology, reading literacy, K-12 students. So we know which group we're looking at, right? Does this include college? No. More specific. Now, it's still a very huge age group, but it's more narrow than everyone ever, right? Specifically, we're looking at reading literacy for this age group and how e-learning technologies can affect this. 3 levels of specificity. That gives me 3 different areas to research, take them, synthesize them together for what the research says about it. Make sense? Okay. All right. So I'm going to be walking around, and snooping in on your conversations, right? We're workshopping ideas. I'll give you suggestions, and then we'll bring it back together for discussion as a group. Sound good? All right, let's do it.